Hey, what's going on? So it's been a while since I made a video like this. I wanted to talk about a bunch of the movies I watched lately. It's been about 2 months or so, so there's a bunch of stuff to show off, as you can see right here. And let's just jump into it. It's going to be a bunch of quick reviews, not going to go too heavy into the plots or anything, but I watched this for the first time, Some Kind of Wonderful, a John Hughes movie. It's not that original. You've seen movies like this before. So he likes her, she likes some other guy, she likes him, he has no interest in her, they're just friends. That part is a little bit boring. It's fine. The best part of this movie, though, is Eric Stoltz's character is a high school senior, and he's about to go into college, and his dad is giving him a hard time about filling out college applications and stuff. And in the best scene, his dad yells at him. He's like, "Where's the frickin' money, Keith?" Because Keith here, he spends all the money on a date with her, which is kind of a dumb thing to do, so I don't blame his dad for being upset. And yeah, I think the movie should have been more about him and his father, and like the trials and tribulations and just the headache that like applying to college can be, and like maybe like you don't even want to go to college. So yeah, Some Kind of Wonderful, it was pretty good. Smile was also pretty good. It's not that groundbreaking, a little like by the numbers horror movie there. It's also almost 2 hours. I think that's a little bit too long for a movie like this, and the ending isn't great, but I had some fun with this, and like there were some pretty creepy moments. So yeah, Smile, I recommend it. I think I only paid like 33 cents for it or something. I think I got this like in a 3 for $1 pile at the flea market. So yeah, not too bad. I haven't shown this one off in a thrift video yet, but I did find it at the thrift store, and that will be in a video that hasn't been released yet. And yeah, God Told Me To. It's not called God Told Me to Kill, that kill is just added. But, oh, this was so close to being like a masterpiece. It's about, as you can tell by the title, God is telling people to do things, but is it actually God? And the opening scene, there's a shooter on a water tower, and that's really well made. And it's a low-budget movie, so I appreciate the low-budget effort. I like in low-budget movies when they go above and beyond what you think the budget would be. And Andy Kaufman plays a cop who is a psychopath. He's only in it for like 2 minutes, but it's really weird seeing regardless. And yeah, really crazy things happen in this movie. There's like a subplot about aliens and stuff, but it's shot just like a traditional 1970s cop movie. So it kind of has to be seen to be believed. Now this next one here, Electric Boogaloo, is the untold story of Cannon Films, a documentary about Cannon Films. They put out a bunch of action movies, as you can see, like, Chuck Norris stuff and like Masters of the Universe and a bunch of Charles Bronson stuff. And it's very well made and a very good time. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of Cannon Films, so I recommend tracking that one down. Married to the Mob, that was also another first time watch, and that's a pretty fun time. It's not like hilarious, it's a comedy, but it's just a feel-good movie kind of. And Matthew Modine, he's very wacky in this. And it's kind of weird because like the movie isn't that wacky except for a few scenes. Like he'll jump out of bed into his pants, which are set up on a clothing line. And just things like that, I think, add to the fun. Now this one, I don't think you would call this one fun. Last House on the Beach. It's kind of like Last House on the Left ripoff. But if you like those movies, and I kind of do, I kind of watch them more just out of curiosity, then I think I'm actually like enjoying myself. But this one was halfway decent and has a nice revenge scene at the end. Now this one I had never heard of before, Running Scared, Paul Walker. I was intrigued by this quote, even though quotes like this are kind of cringy, I think. Makes Kill Bill look like Sesame Street. Like, clearly it probably doesn't. And they're not even the same type of movie. Kill Bill is a martial arts movie, and this is a cop action movie. But Paul Walker is actually pretty good in this. It's probably his best role, and it is pretty gritty. There's a scene, I don't want to give it away, but yeah, it goes really over the top. And yeah, I recommend that one, Running Scared. That was a good time. This next one here, Almost Famous. I don't know how I've never seen this before. Great movie about a young rock and roll critic who goes on tour with a fictional band called Stillwater. Even though there was an actual band called Stillwater. Kind of confusing. But yeah. And then he meets this girl who's a groupie, And he likes her, but she kind of doesn't really have any interest in him. But they do have a friendship, and yeah, it's a good time. Recommend. Almost Famous. Now, Trapped in Paradise. This is one I haven't seen since the theater, so I was really curious what it would be like. And it's pretty good. Good Christmas movie. We're way past Christmas at this point. But yeah, I had fun with Trapped in Paradise. So this next one, The Pledge, this was good until the ending, which craps the bed as far as I'm concerned. But up until then, it's a good time. Kind of like a psychological thriller type movie. And then this one is along the same line somewhat, The Hunter. I haven't really heard anyone ever talk about this, and I think this is very underrated Willem Dafoe movie. He goes to Australia to hunt a Tasmanian tiger. That's like what he does for a job. He hunts rare animals, and that he boards with a family so that he can, have a place to sleep, obviously, and he kind of bonds with the family. And yeah, that's a good time. I recommend that one. And this one might be even better, Wind River, from the team behind Sicario and Hell or High Water. I think this is actually better than those two movies. And yeah, it's a real slow burn. But then towards the end, it gets pretty hardcore. And I always love seeing the ultra-violence. So I do recommend this one right here. Now, Black Hawk Down. This is one I didn't want to watch for a long time. I remember back in the day I worked at Target, and there was this guy who worked there who was kind of like a meathead type guy. And he said this was his favorite movie. So that made me not want to see it. But it is actually pretty good. Kind of not my thing, but it was fine. A much better war movie, as far as I'm concerned, is this one right here, Three Kings. I watched this for the first time in a very long time, and that's still really good. It holds up. The Perfect Storm, that was a first-time watch. I had seen bits and parts of it on TV before, but first time watching the whole thing, and it was all right. So a movie I want to talk about, I don't think it was released in the United States on Blu-ray or DVD, is called Dinner in America, and it is fantastic. I heard about this movie through Red Letter Media, who's a YouTube channel that I'm sure you're familiar with. They're very, very popular. And yeah, they're right. That is a great movie. It's about a punk rocker who lights someone's house on fire, and he's on the run, and then he meets this girl, and they kind of start a relationship. And tonally, it's like very unique. It's like if a character from the movie, like Suburbia or Romper Stomper or Made in Britain, like a punk rock character like that, falls in love with someone from Napoleon Dynamite. And it is very funny and very like heartwarming, even though it sounds like it could be pretty rough, which it is at times. But yeah, I love this movie. It's probably in my top 50 favorite movies, even only having seen it once. So yeah, I can't guarantee you'll like it, but I really, really liked Dinner in America. And I also want to talk about some movies I saw in the theater. Poor Things with Emma Stone. If I had seen this in time for my 2023 movie wrap-up, this definitely would have been in the top 3 favorite movies of that year for me. It was really, really well made. And I don't even like the director that much. I don't like his other stuff that much. I thought The Favorite was just pretty good. And I actually kind of hated The Lobster. Please don't be mad at me. I know some people love that movie. Just way too over the top to like follow what's even going on. I didn't like it very much. But Poor Things, even though it's very weird, the story itself is grounded. Just weird things happen within that universe. And yeah, I like that movie a lot. Highly recommend Poor Things. I also saw Lisa Frankenstein, and I found it very, very boring. I actually purposely fell asleep to make the time go faster. And I took a quick, 10, 15 minute nap. When I did wake up, the movie was a little bit better. And I actually woke up to like a pretty funny scene. There is one funny scene in the movie, as far as I know. Maybe there's a few that I missed during my little siesta. But yeah, I don't really recommend Lisa Frankenstein. I did see the Willy Wonka movie, and that's okay. It's not bad. It's not great either. Maybe a 7 out of 10, if I'm being generous. I did hear other people saying they really liked it, and other people didn't like it. I'm in between. I don't think it's great or that bad. But yeah, let's move on to these over here. Please don't get mad at me, because I'm not the biggest fan of these two movies right here. Watched them for the first time. The Departed. It takes place in Boston, and all the accents are comically over the top. I'm a sergeant from Boston. I'm going to drive by the harbor in my patrol car. Like, the movie's not a comedy, so and also not everyone in Boston talks that way. So I thought that was a little bit over the top. But it is a well-made movie, obviously. It's Martin Scorsese. And there's some good action in there. But now this next one, Shutter Island, I was not a big fan of this. Psychological thriller, but I basically knew the twist. I played Silent Hill over 20 years ago, Silent Hill 2, and it's basically a very similar plot. And yeah, I don't know, in movies like this where it's like a twist, it's like, ooh, you didn't see that coming. Yeah, because you purposely misled me. That's why I didn't see it coming. You lied to me. So how could I have seen it coming? So yeah, I wasn't that into Shutter Island. This next one, I'm going to sound like a real doofus saying this. This is also kind of psychological. Not kind of, it is psychological. But I actually probably enjoyed this more than Shutter Island. Obviously, it's a very cheap movie. It's very low budget. And the ending isn't great. But getting there was pretty fun. It's about a cop, and she has to guard a police station on the last day that it's open. And it's haunted by demons. Oh. So kind of doesn't make sense. Like, why do they even need a cop to guard a police station that like is going to be shut down the next day? But yeah, I had a fun time with this one last shift. It's pretty well made for something with such a minuscule budget. And I also watched the Taken trilogy, and these are pretty good. PG-13 action. You're not going to get R-rated like John Wick intensity, but still a pretty fun time. The Liam Neeson character is kind of a dork. He's just obsessed with his daughter the whole time. And I know that's the point of the movie, but yeah, these are pretty good. Can't really go wrong with those. I gave Pumpkinhead a rewatch, and this is a pretty solid 80s horror movie. Kind of average, not the best horror movie, but definitely not the worst. And yeah, special effects are good in this. Lance Henriksen is good. Recommend this movie if you've never seen it and you like 80s horror. Now, Pumpkinhead 2 is not as good, but there are some over-the-top kills to this, which are very funny. What's also funny is the sound effects are... There are some over-the-top kills, which are funny, so you might want to watch it for that. And also what's funny about the movie is the sound effects are too loud. I don't know if anyone notices that, but when they're watching a movie and someone like comes in the room and the doorknob is like... and they play the sound way too loud, like, yeah, I get it, a door opened. And it also uses like the cheesy, I'll pop brakes. Red Letter Media makes fun of that too. But I think the reason they make fun of it is because they subtly make fun of it in the movie Wet Hot American Summer, which is my favorite movie of all time. They play that pot smashing sound over and over and over, even like when it doesn't really make sense. So yeah, look out for that in Wet Hot American Summer. And you can look out for it in Pumpkinhead 2 if you're desperate for something to watch. It's not great. It's whatever. It's like a 5.5 out of 10. Now, Fargo, this movie is like a 10 out of 10. This is fantastic. I wanted to rewatch it because I started the Fargo TV series. I watched seasons 1 and 2. Season 1 is very similar to season 2 in tone, and I really like this a lot. And then season 2 kind of strays from that a little bit. It's more about like families feuding and stuff, and a family is feuding with the cops, but the cops really can't do much about it. And yeah, so I wasn't as into the first couple episodes of season 2, but then I really got into it, and I think season 2 might be better than the first one. I also watched Punky Brewster. Not every episode, but most of the episodes of season 1 and 2. It really drops off for season 3. It's not as good. Season 1 has the guy Eddie Dreesen, who plays nerds in a whole bunch of movies like, what's that movie? War Games and like Animal House and stuff like that. And I like him basically in every movie he's in. And then in season 2, you get T.K. Carter, who is from the movie The Thing and other things. And he is great too. And seasons 1 and 2 are excellent. Season 3, like I said, just not as good, kind of loses some of its charm. A lot of these episodes are like very special episodes where there's a lesson to be learned. For instance, like her friend Sherry gets locked in a refrigerator, so it teaches the kids not to go inside abandoned refrigerators. There's also another episode about a serial killer who's on the loose, and Punky is afraid. And yeah, it just seems like pretty extreme for a kids show. And yeah, the episodes I like the best are ones I remembered watching as a little kid. And I don't know if I remember them because they were the best episodes or if I like them now because I remember watching them when I was little. Nostalgia does play a big part in like things I like for things like that. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Punky has some really good episodes. Recommend the first 2 seasons. Now, Whiplash, that was a rewatch, and that's one of the best movies ever. Whiplash is so awesome. If you haven't seen that, you need to watch that movie. And now this one is also one of the best movies ever made, Grown Ups, with Adam Sandler. Kidding, obviously, but if you know what you're getting into, Adam Sandler movies can be fun. So yeah, typical of a lot of more modern Adam Sandler movies, there's like kind of lazy jokes, and it is what it is. It's basically an excuse for him to go on vacation with his friends. But it's fun watching him with his friends, so that's why I watched this, and it's basically what I expected. Now, Hot Tub Time Machine, this is another rewatch. I watched this in the theater when it first came out, and it surprisingly held up pretty well. I thought maybe it would kind of not hold up, but yeah, I enjoyed Hot Tub Time Machine on a second watch. I kind of was hard on this movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie. I saw that it had mixed reviews, and also some of my friends really didn't like it. But I thought it was okay for what it is. Maybe better than okay, like pretty good. Maybe 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. And yeah, if this looks like it would be something you would like, you probably would like it. Now, I rewatched The Funhouse. I had just rewatched this maybe like 4 months ago, but I rewatched it again because I had read the novelization. And oh my god, the novelization has so much stuff that's not in the movie. And having read the novelization, it kind of makes me think the movie's not as good as I used to think it was. The book is about, I don't know, maybe 315 pages. And in the book, they don't even get to the Funhouse until page 200. So there's a lot of backstory not in this. And the movie has almost no backstory. And it's kind of bland in that sense. And yeah, I don't want to go too far into the book because this is a review of the movie. So yeah, let's move on to this one. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't know how many times to make the S noise. One of the few movies that its name is just a sound effect. It's like if a movie was called or very weird. Yep. Shush. Shh. No, not shush. And you think this is about a snake, and you know a snake is attacking people, and that's a scary horror movie. But no, the plot of the movie is a guy gets bit by a snake, and then he's turning into a snake. So that's a horror. It's like a body horror movie, and that part of the movie is really creepy. And this is kind of a hidden gem as far as 70s horror movies go, and I recommend it, even though the name is very silly. And okay, got just a few more over here. I watched Frankenweenie, the full length. Now this was a short that Tim Burton made. It was the first thing he made, I believe, before even Pee-wee's Big Adventure. A short made Frankenweenie, and years and years later he made a feature film. And yeah, this is a halfway decent time Disney animated movie right there. Sailor Moon, I had never actually watched before, so I wanted to see what it was like. It was surprisingly better than I thought it would be. It's still not something I'm going to watch the whole series of. It just didn't hold my attention that well. But it was good for something to have on just like in the background. And yeah, Sailor Moon's not bad. Now this one, I was looking forward to. Something unfortunate happened with Diggstown, where my VCR is in the garage, but I didn't want to watch this in the garage. So I saw that it was free on YouTube, and it was advertised as being free with ads. So I watched it, and then 20 minutes into it, I'm thinking like, oh wow, it's an R-rated movie, but there's not really any swearing or anything. And then I noticed there was a scene where like, okay, he should be saying a swear word, but it's edited. And then after that, a few minutes go by, it's the middle of a scene, and they just cut to the next scene. It's not like a smooth edit. They just cut from one scene, like in the middle of it, to the next scene. So clearly it's a made-for-television version, which is very unfortunate. And I checked the runtime. The one on YouTube, free with ads, is like 6 minutes shorter than this version. I was already halfway through, so I just continued watching the YouTube version. But I should have, pop this one in on a different television. It was still good, but it was nagging at the back of my mind the whole time that I wasn't getting the full experience. Also, we talked about sound effects. I think the punching sound effects in the fight scenes could have been a little bit more impactful. That took a little bit out of it for me. But yeah, Dick's Down was pretty good. Eye of the Tiger, Gary Busey movie right there. What's funny is they play the song Eye of the Tiger. I think certain things shouldn't be used in other movies. Like, that's clearly a song written for Rocky 3. And they're just using it to remind people of Rocky 3 when they watch Eye of the Tiger. It's an okay movie, you know, low-budget action movie. There is a scene with guys on bikes with Uzis, and he sets up like a cable across the road, and it decapitates them, and that was a fun time. But overall, Eye of the Tiger, I could take it or leave it. Head Office, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really paying too much attention during this movie. It seemed like it was pretty good, but can't really tell you much about it. And finally, the last one here, The Wanderers. This was a great movie. I think this was better than The Outsiders. This should get more recognition. It was my first time watching it, and yeah, it's a good time. You have these guys right here. They're baldies. She's not bald. That's actually a girl in the gang. The girls don't have to be bald. They just have short haircuts. And yeah, they go against another 60s gang called The Wanderers. They're rumbling and fighting, and yeah, it's a good time. Highly recommend that one right there. And we've come to the end of the video. I do appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Oh, one more before I get out of here. The Baytown Outlaws. This is an over-the-top action movie, kind of like if like the Dukes of Hazzard were like tweakers or something. Kind of like in the vein of like Quentin Tarantino movies, somewhat. And yeah, I was surprised at how pretty solid this one is for a movie I've never heard of before. So I got this in a big collection I bought, but it seems like one that they would sell at the Dollar Tree. Let me know if they do sell this at Dollar Tree, and if they do sell it there, you should buy it.